YouTube, what's going on? Welcome to the Off the Schneid 2020 NFL Preview Series, where I'll be going over all 32 NFL teams, breaking down their rosters, their schedule, giving you a record prediction, as well as helping out with some betting tips. If this is your first time at the channel, do me a massive favor, hit that like and subscribe button, turn on notifications, and check the description for links to social media for Off the Schneid. Follow us on there as well. I want to give a massive shout out to OurLads Scouting Services and OurLads.com for helping me to make these videos. I'm on their website almost daily, and if you're a serious football fan, guys, you need to have this website bookmarked, favorited, whatever it is. Helps me at draft time, fantasy football purposes, when creating bet slips, as well as DFS lineups. It's your one-stop shop for NFL scouting services. There's a link in the description for OurLads.com as well as the social media. Do me a favor again, hit that like and subscribe button. But enough of that. Let's get to your favorite NFL football preview. Taking a look at the Arizona Cardinals today, we will start, as we always do, at quarterback with former Heisman Trophy winner Kyler Murray. Fantastic young quarterback. I really like the dual threat quarterbacks right now. I think there's a bit of a kind of changing of the guard in the NFL. I used to think that it wasn't the route to go back when Michael Vick and those types of guys were running around. I actually didn't really like that style of play. Now I think it's absolutely the way to go. It just adds a different dynamic to your offense and keeps defenses that much more honest and on their toes, having to account for guys like Lamar, Kyler Murray, obviously, even guys like Joe Burrow and some of these guys coming up that are 300 2, 3, 400 yard rusher type guys that just keep those defenses honest. Josh Allen's up there, Russell Wilson, obviously. So Deshaun Watson, there's tons of guys that they can run, and they have that ability to keep defenses on their toes and a little more honest than they would be or could be. So I absolutely love Kyler Murray. I think he's going to be a very, very, very successful quarterback. And then I'll just say it right off the top. I think that this roster has not only tons of potential, but I think that they're a Super Bowl caliber team. Maybe not this season, and we'll get there when I do the record prediction and go through the schedule and everything. Maybe not this season, but 2 seasons from now, I think that they could be a serious Super Bowl threat. So we'll get there. But backup Brett Hundley, that's fine. I mean, Kyler Murray should be fine to play all 16 games. I don't really see him coming down with any sort of an injury. He runs really smart. I really like the way that he runs. He runs kind of smarter than Lamar Jackson, and you can see that in his lesser rushing yards. He throws the ball away a lot more. He runs out of bounds a lot more. So he's obviously taking less hits and staying out of trouble a little more so than someone like Lamar Jackson. He's more on the lines of Russell Wilson, but quicker, shiftier, and can get a couple more yards than Russell. So you can see that as the rush yards progress through those 3 players. So yeah, they're fine at quarterback after Kyler Murray. I think they're fantastic at quarterback with Kyler Murray, but Brett Hundley, I mean, he's fine. I'm not too worried about the backup quarterback situation in Arizona. Move to running back. We've got Kenyon Drake, who's got just tons of miles. He was always the backup at Bama. He was behind TJ Yeldon, then Derrick Henry, and then he had that broken leg, all that kind of stuff, and then never really got a fair shot in Miami for one reason or another. Gets traded to Arizona and absolutely kills it. So I really, really like that. They got him on a transition tag, making about 8-point-something mil this year, which is a great number for him. And as long as he's successful this year, I think he bumps that up to 10, 11 mil next season, after this season, I should say, once he signs a kind of a long-term contract, probably like a 4-year deal, 10 to 12 roughly, I'll say 9 to 12. 9 to 13 type of $1 million contract. That's kind of what he'll be worth, in my opinion. Similar to Joe Mixon, right there with Joe Mixon as far as his dollar value. Chase Edmonds proved to be just fine, very good backup running back and kind of a change of pace guy, and can be called upon if need be. You don't particularly want that, but he can carry the load if need be. And then Eno Benjamin was a great draft pick, their last pick, just a depth guy, local guy. So he's fine there. That's a good guy to have on your roster, and he can catch the ball too, which is very good. Tight end Max Williams. They lost Clay last year, Charles Clay, but that's not a big concern of mine. He had 18 catches, 237 yards, and 1 touchdown. That's not a concern to me. I think Max Williams can pick up those extra catches and yards. And then the guy that I really like, a former Red Raider with Cliff Kingsbury, is Dylan Cantrell, who came on to likely play tight end. I think he's going to put on a couple more pounds and play tight end for this team. I think that he can have a role this year. Starting this year, I think he can have a role and just pick up those Charles Clay reps and targets that are now gone. Him and Max Williams should be fine. So I definitely like that. We'll go with the offensive line. Marcus Gilbert comes back, J.R. Sweezy, Mason Cole, Justin Pugh. As long as DJ Humphries is that guy at left tackle, which he should be, I think he is, they think he is, should be fine. And then Josh Jones they picked up in the draft, which was a phenomenal draft pick. I think Mason Cole probably is the long-term, whether it's at center or guard, either way. I think that those are the only 2 positions that they need to be really worried about are right and left guard. J.R. Sweezy, Justin Pugh, I'm just not sure those are going to be the guys, and definitely not long-term. So they do have Lamont Gillard, which is a guy that he could fit in there long term. But as long as DJ Humphries and Josh Jones are your anchors at the tackle positions, they should be able to fill out the guard positions just fine. I was concerned. I am concerned about the amount of sacks they allowed last year, 50 sacks. But some of that is to blame on Kyler Murray, and he admitted it himself. Rookie quarterback, young, kind of up-and-coming line. I still think they're going to have issues on that line, but they shouldn't allow as many sacks as they did last season. I really don't see them allowing 50 or 50-plus, low 40s probably, right around that 40 mark, which is fine. As long as they improve from last year, I'm okay. I'm okay with it as long as they improve, which they should, and I fully expect them to. Then we go to the wide receiver position. They got 2 first ballot Hall of Famers as long as DeAndre Hopkins keeps doing what he's doing, and I don't see why he wouldn't. And Larry Fitzgerald, obviously one of the greatest wide receivers ever. Those 2 guys plus Christian Kirk. I don't see Christian Kirk playing the slot. I see Larry playing in the slot for them. And then DeAndre Hopkins and Kirk on the outside. That's kind of how I see it. And they're obviously going to run a ton of 3 wide receiver sets, keep those 3 guys on the field all the time. And then it doesn't even drop off from there. It really doesn't. They have a ton of depth at wide receiver. I really like Keyshawn Johnson. Andy Isabella, I really like. Hakeem Butler will be back and healthy. They got a ton of depth, a ton of young guys that can learn behind a guy like Larry, who's one of the greatest, like I said, top 3 wide receivers that ever played the game, in my opinion. So a fantastic guy to learn behind, and then someone's going to have to take over at that slot position. I don't know. Larry might play another year. If they're, in the playoffs this year and looking like a Super Bowl caliber team, Larry might come back for another year, which would be great for this team and have another shot at that elusive Super Bowl, and have a legitimate shot at it. Not this season. I don't think this season, but next season, I think that they will be a Super Bowl contender. I really, really do. I love the makeup of this team. I really like it a ton. Plus, their coaching staff is fantastic. I do really like Cliff Kingsbury. He seemed to learn quickly last season and catch up to the pace, the difference between college and NFL. I think he'll be very good this year, and I think he'll progress again. And having a guy like Vance Joseph, a former head coach, a fantastic defensive coach, who can just do wonders for this team defensively and help with Cliff Kingsbury. I really like a lot of things about this team. I really, really do. And like I said, it might not be this season, but next season, I think they're there. So let's pop over to the defensive side of the ball. Actually, let's take a look at guys that they lost over the offseason in free agency. So realistically, the only guys that they lost that are of any concern to me are Rodney Gunter, obviously, and then Cassius Marsh to a point. he's definitely a guy that can still get it done, leader, get after the quarterback, all that kind of stuff. I don't mind Cassius Marsh, but Rodney Gunter is definitely a fairly big loss for them. However, they go out and add Jordan Phillips, Devon Kennard, and Devondre Campbell in free agency. They bring back Marcus Gilbert, Max Garcia, these types of guys that'll just, be roster players and help out, depth guys on the line. But man, Jordan Phillips, it's tough to replace Rodney Gunter. It's very tough to not only replace him, but I think that they got a better player. I think Jordan Phillips is better than Rodney Gunter and will make this team better. Devon Kennard would have been that kind of will rushing linebacker type of guy, but they went and signed Isaiah Simmons. I think they'll both get their reps, to be honest with you. I think, and I'll get to Simmons, actually. I'll get to Simmons. And then we'll touch on the Devondre Campbell pickup. I think that he is a massive upgrade over Hassan Reddick, who kind of played that position last year. But he's not that type of player. That's the weird thing with the Cardinals since they drafted Hassan Reddick. They've tried to kind of force him to do things that he's not good at. He is a pass rushing type of a guy. He always has been, in my opinion. He's just been playing out of position his whole time with the Cards. I don't really like that fit. Where he should go is the Panthers. Go play for his former coaches. Go to the Panthers. I mean, obviously he doesn't have that choice, but he's never really fit with this team. And I don't think anyone would disagree with me or say I'm crazy for saying that. He just hasn't really fit in with this team, but he's a great player and this defense is better with him. I'll say that but I think Devondre Campbell and Jordan Hicks and even Evan Weaver, who is a fantastic draft pick, can all play that kind of a role that they need from that position better than Hassan Reddick. That's just my opinion on it, and especially Devondre Campbell. So their defensive line, let's go through the draft. I gave them an A- draft grade, which was definitely above average. Isaiah Simmons, Josh Jones, Lecky Fotu, Rashard Lawrence, Evan Weaver, and Eno Benjamin, I thought were all very, very good picks. I had Josh Jones as probably a first-round talent, and they got him in the third round. That's crazy, crazy value. Lecky Fotu, Rashard Lawrence are going to be able to help on a rotational basis right away. Not that they'll really even need them, to be honest with you, but they will be able to help out, and they could be the future there with Corey Peters getting a little bit older. Jordan Phillips, Zach Allen aren't going anywhere, and Chandler Jones isn't really going anywhere. So as long as they can, rotate with Phillips and Peters and maybe Allen and eventually take over one of them. You just need one of them to be able to take over for Peters and the other guy to be a rotational guy, and you're fine. Evan Weaver, I really, really, really like that pick right there. He was, especially the value, man, they just got such good value with all of these players. They picked them where they should have, or, they got extremely good value. Josh Jones and Evan Weaver were extremely good value, in my opinion. Fotu and Lawrence, they went kind of where they should have went, maybe third, fourth round. They went in the fourth, and they were just fantastic picks for them. So they're stacked, man. This team is absolutely stacked. Now let's talk about Isaiah Simmons, who is one of my 100%, maybe my favorite player in the draft this year. He's going to be able to play 3 positions for this team. I don't think he ever leaves the field. He can play that will linebacker pass rusher role. He can play that pass coverage linebacker role. He can play safety. He is just an absolute chess piece that you can move around everywhere. He can spy the quarterback if need be with Russell Wilson. He can do anything that they ask him to do. And he's probably going to be asked to wear a lot of hats and to play a bunch of different roles. And I think he'll be just fine doing it. He's going to be a fantastic player for this team for a lot of years. Patrick Peterson, one of the best corners in the game right now still, and probably another first ballot Hall of Famer. Budda Baker is one of the better safeties in the game right now, especially in run support, that type of thing. Byron Murphy, I think, takes another step forward. They're going to kind of need him to take a step forward. They allowed, I think, the second most passing touchdowns in the league last year at 38. That is way too many. But I think as long as Byron Murphy takes a step forward, which I think he will. Patrick Peterson plays the way he always does. I think Devondre Campbell helps a ton. Jordan Hicks is a fantastic leader and fantastic linebacker there. Evan Weaver they have now to help out. Isaiah Simmons, I think that they absolutely do help out. They got some project guys at corner as well. Jalen Davis, Kevin Peterson, Chris Jones, and a couple undrafted free agent guys. And Robert Alford's there. He can definitely help out. He's definitely still a capable, helpful corner to have on your roster, leader type guy as well. I just really, really, really like this team. I really like the makeup. I really like the direction that they're going. I love their defensive coach. I think that this team can absolutely be a Super Bowl contender. Maybe not this year, but next season for sure. So let's pop on over, take a look at their schedule and the record prediction for 2020. All right, there you see it. We got the low, high, my. I know I was just pumping their tires a ton in the roster prediction there, but I just don't think they're quite there this season. I think they're well on their way. And next year, they should be Super Bowl contenders and a team that I will look to probably bet heavily as far as winning the division and maybe throw a bet on to win the Super Bowl. But I think at a minimum, they're a 500 team. They should push for a playoff spot. Remember, there's 7 spots now. They should push for a playoff spot, and they could definitely contend to win this division. With 11-5, it's going to be close, especially how tight these 3 teams are. I think the Rams move to the back. I think that they are a shell of their Super Bowl appearing roster, and I most certainly like the Cardinals more than the Rams to win this division. Absolutely, and it's not even close in my opinion. They should be flip-flopping those odds in my opinion. I think the Cards should be third, and maybe even make it closer. I think 1.95 for the Niners. As much as I loved them last year, and I'll get to them when I do their video, I think that it's way closer with the Seahawks and the Cards as far as winning this division. So I don't think I'll be betting the Niners. Even though I really like the team, I do. I just think it's a lot closer than the odds makers are giving it kind of, credit for odds wise. So there you go. Low, high, my 8-8, 11-5, 9-7. I got them going 9-7. We'll go through the schedule here, and yeah, I think it's definitely a very reasonable possibility that they win the division. They go from worst to first in their division. Happens almost every year. Last year, it was the Niners that was the team that went, worst or second worst to first. There was no worst to first, but the Niners were second worst in this division, and then they ended up winning it the following season last year. So the Cards could be that team. Week 1, they start on the road at San Francisco. Tough game. I'm just giving them splits with the Seahawks and the Niners. The home and home, it's an easy, it's a cop out. It is what it is, but it's kind of how I structure my prediction for these teams, all 3 of them. I think that they split with the Rams, so they lose week 1. They are at home against the Washington Redskins. I think they definitely get that win. The defenses are comparable, and the offense is much better for the Cardinals, in my opinion. So I think they get that win. Same thing with Detroit. I think their defense is much better. Their offense is better. I think they get that win at home. On the road against Carolina, all the way west to all the way east. Tough game, but it depends. News just came out about teams traveling on game day. I think that would make a huge difference for home and away games, an absolutely massive difference. I was a fan of teams like the Seahawks that would go 2 days in advance. I think that that's what I would do if I were, a head coach and controlling it. I want to, especially if you're the Seattle Seahawks and you're going to Philly or New York, even the Cards, they're an hour, ahead, however you want to look at it, and they're going all the way east. Those are tough games. Super west to super east, that's tough. It's a lot easier to go east to west. But either way, I still think they beat the Panthers. They're a much better team all around. I think they can go in New York and beat the Jets. I think they should have a reasonable shot at beating both the New York teams, even on the road, going not extreme west, but west to east. I still think they're the better team all around. It'll depend on the traveling and how that works out. At Dallas, I'm gonna give that to the Cowboys. looking at the stats for the Cards last year, 38 passing touchdowns. They're definitely going to improve on that, but how much, it's hard to say. And there's just so many weapons in Dallas, especially at home. If there's fans in the stands, then I absolutely like the Cowboys in that one. We'll see when we get there. Primetime game, which is absolutely where it should be, the first primetime game for the Cards. And one that I expect the Cowboys to probably get that win. I really do. Monday night, I think the Cowboys get that win at home. Then next week at home against the Seahawks, like I said, I think they split, so they get that win at home, and then they lose later in the season against the Seahawks. Bye week, week 8. That's all right. That's an okay bye week, especially for a team that I suspect should probably be in the playoffs, at the very least a wildcard team, the 6th or 7th, 5th. They might win the division, all these kinds of things. I expect the Cards to probably be a playoff team. So that's an okay bye week. I don't mind it, especially coming off a tough game at home against Seattle where I expect them to get the win. Nice bye week. Then at home against Miami, fantastic comeback game. I think they get that win as well. At home against Buffalo, that's a tough game. That's a really, really tough game. The defenses are very comparable. Offenses are fairly comparable. That's a tough game. That one could go either way. That one could absolutely go either way. I probably picked the Bills to win it in their video. I'm not sure. Again, that's a toss-up game for me. Could go either way. At Seattle, I think they take that loss there. Again, they're splitting in my opinion. At the Patriots, even in November, even with Cam, the newly signed Cam Newton as a starter, I still like the Cards to go into Foxborough and get that win. I think they're by a bunch the better team. So offensively and probably defensively now, the Patriots lost some key players on defense, and I think that they're better on both sides of the ball, to be honest with you. So I think they go into Foxborough and get that win. At home against the Rams, I could very well see the Cards. I could very well see all three NFC West teams sweeping the Rams. I think the Rams fall to the very bottom of this division, and I don't even think it's very close. So I think they can get the win at home against the Rams and on the road in Week 17. Week 14 against the Giants, that's an interesting game. Again, super west to extreme east. And if they are traveling on game day, I think that's a tough game. We'll see where both teams are at, and that'll be a telling story, is where are both of these teams at Week 14. One, they both might be pushing to the playoffs. One might be, one might not be. I don't suspect that the Cards are not in the playoff picture at that point. The Giants may not be. We'll see. But that's an interesting game at that point in the season. At home against the Eagles, I think that's absolutely a winnable game. It's a tough game, and it could go either way, but I think that's definitely winnable, especially at home in Arizona. Week 16 at home against the 49ers, I think they can get that win. Again, they're going to be pushing for the playoffs. They're going to need that win at home. They played them once already. I picked a split, so that's definitely a winnable game, and one that I think they probably get. And then on the road against the Rams to finish the season. That could be, even though I expect the Rams to be completely out of the playoff picture, that could be a divisional game right there, especially if they beat the Niners the week before. It could come down to ties and division record. Absolutely, in this division is what it could come down to. So the fact that they play their last 3 divisional games are 2 against the Rams and then at home against the Niners, they could very well squeak out this division. Absolutely, they could squeak out this division with a tied record and divisional. That's absolutely how this could go. So there you go. Like, there's your breakdown of the Cards. I really like this team. I really think they're on the come up. They could be division winners this year. I expect them to be Super Bowl contenders as early as next season. I don't quite think that they're going to get there this year. I just don't. I mean, they very, very well could. They very well could. Look at Patrick Mahomes in his second season. Kyler Murray could be that guy and just, takes them there. With that defense, the offense, everything, they could absolutely be Super Bowl contenders this season. But if they're not, absolutely next year they will be 100%. So there you go. Let me know what you think in the comments of your 2020 Arizona Cardinals.